to Real Reds Talk. This is your official pre-match build-up for the game between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur at Old Trafford. For everyone just joining, make sure you get your comments in. Let us know how you're feeling about this game this afternoon and what changes you would have made to the starting 11 against Wigan, because if we're honest, there's not that many. But there is big changes on the bench, which we're definitely going to discuss. Shreyas, how are we feeling going into this one? Positive, concerned, worried?
Considering a couple of players who are present on the bench, I'm feeling more confident about this game now, because it feels like a lifetime that I saw both of them actually playing together at the same time on the pitch.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll just get straight into it. Andre Onana in net. We Aaron Wan-Bissaka at right back. Varane and Evans partner again, which is nice to have some kind of consistency in that back line. Diego Dalot at left back. You have Mainu, Eriksen and Bruno Fernandes in the midfield. So no Scott McTominay, which is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. Then we have Garnacho, Højlund and Rashford. And we're going to assume that Garnacho is, of course, on the right-hand side. Højlund up top and Rashford on his preferred left. And then the subs bench is where it gets interesting in it, Shreyas, because for the past couple of weeks, we have had a sub bench that's been filled with youth players, effectively. Basically. Now, there's still some youth players on there.
Yeah.
But we've got Bayende, Heaton, Cambualo, Martinez, Casemiro, McTominay, Pellistri, Forson and Antony on the bench. Almost like 200 million quid's worth of talent, or 150 million quid's worth of talent there, should I say.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Martinez, Casemiro coming back, and how do you feel about that starting 11 going into this?
I think the starting 11, considering how Spurs play, this is the perfect 11 to go with. I think Rashford and Garnacho are someone who can actually exploit, the spaces left behind when it comes to, playing the high line. And their pace is something that, can cause a lot of damage to Spurs, considering I wouldn't say it's a weak team, but I wouldn't say that it's their perfect team that is going to be playing against us, out there today. And there's, Ange Postecoglou, the way he plays, he sticks to his system. He doesn't change it at all. He might, have 3 or 4 players sent off as well. He'll still stick with the high line. So I think the front line picks itself. I think the midfield as well is the right call. McTominay cannot work in this game. I think Eriksen is someone who can be very, very effective in this game. And I think having Eriksen and Mainu behind Bruno, maybe, you can actually maximize the potential of Bruno in this game. I think Dalot had a relatively decent game against Wigan. Hopefully he's able to, carry that forward into this game as well. And I think because he's going to be playing from the in the left position, I think he's going to be the one facing Brennan Johnson. So I hope that he has a good game today. Wan-Bissaka as well, I think, is a decent call. And I think Varane and Evans, you need to go with that centre-back partnership, because Martinez is just coming back in. We cannot risk another injury on Lisandro till the end of the season. So I think it's the right call to go with Evans and Varane. On the bench as well, I think it's a much stronger bench than we've been seeing in so many games, because genuinely now we've got players who can actually come off the bench and actually make a difference in this game. Lisandro is definitely one of them. Casemiro is definitely one of them. And I think we'll be seeing Antony as well in one way or the other. I think Antony will come on, whether it's for Rashford or whether it's for Højlund or Garnacho. I think he'll come on eventually in the game as well. So I think overall, I think Ten Hag has picked the right team. And I think we can just see that he's doing the best from, of what he's got in this team right now. Because I think if he picked McTominay in this game, I would be very, very worried. But I think at least that, you're seeing McTominay dropped, it shows that, he wants to play a certain way. He wants to play certain players, but maybe it's just because of the reason that, he hasn't actually got any alternatives, that he has to play players like McTominay in this team.
Yeah, Jim was in the chat saying you should have had Garnacho on the poll because he's scoring today.
Yep.
Rayanator saying finally a competitive bench. 2-1 win. Garnacho brace. Think Spurs will miss Son, and if we do struggle, can finally bring difference makers into the game. I am feeling slightly more positive seeing that lineup. I know they're not starting, but I think even 30 minutes, maybe even just one half of bringing them on could have such a big effect. And the midfield in general, Eriksen, Mainu and Bruno Fernandes is obviously much better and much more control when you're at Old Trafford. So look, Spurs, the way they play, they're relentless, and we're going to talk about them and individual players so it's not going to be no kind of walk in the park. But I'm feeling a little bit more confident ahead of that. Now, there was rumours going about Luke Shaw being involved. Well, they said he was starting basically, and he's not even in the team at all. Do you have any concerns with the wing backs at all heading into this, coming up against your Kulusevskis, Werners, these kind of guys?
I think at least against teams in the top 6, Dalot performs quite well. And I think the same goes for Wan-Bissaka as well. I think he's someone, if you are going, ahead of players like Kulusevski and, players who are very tricky when it comes to, playing off the wings, I think Wan-Bissaka is the perfect person to play on the right hand side because that, he can shut them down. And overall, I think Dalot is right now very effective because we've seen him tucking into midfield so many times, in the past few games whenever he's been playing, off the ball, and even when we're trying to build out from the back, he moves into the midfield alongside Mainu and Eriksen, and then he tries to build the attack from the, and then he actually makes those inverted runs as well. So I think right now Dalot is very effective. So, and because Luke Shaw is not even available on the bench, he's the only fullback that, who is available and can be played in that position. But I think with Dalot, the thing is that he's been really inconsistent, but on the other hand as well, he's one player who's been playing every single game. Like, I don't remember even a single game where Dalot has been dropped in this season up until this point. And the amount of games that we've played, considering that this is probably one player who's played practically the entire 90 minutes. There's only been one game where he hasn't played, and that's when he got the red card against Liverpool. That's the only game throughout the season where he hasn't played a game. So maybe fatigue has got to do something with his performances on the pitch as well. But I think overall, this is the only setup that you could go with.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's almost your strongest team, really, when you're ready for fucking 90 minutes or whatever. Just double check your connection for us if you can, Trent, because you were lagging quite a lot then when you were speaking. I don't know if it's something to do with settings. I'm just going to read out a couple of match facts. So Manchester United have won 24 of their 31 Premier League meetings with Spurs at Old Trafford, drawing 3 and losing 4. All 4 of Tottenham's victories came in their 11 most recent visits, which isn't a great stat. Spurs are seeking to complete a league double over United for the first time since the 89-90 season under Terry Venables. What did you not like and you don't want to see again that we saw in the first game?
Missing our chances, especially when it comes to, because in the first game, I think it was for the first 35 minutes. It was almost like we didn't want to score in front of goal. I remember Bruno missing headers. I remember a lot of opportunities that we missed in this game. And it is a fact that, we actually played them off the park for the first 35 minutes. Like, Spurs weren't even, around the game. We were relentless. We were going at it non-stop for the first 35. But then we did see that, when things didn't go our way, and it happened a lot during the first half of the season, the heads dropped. I think this team has become a bit better in that, in that scenario. We've seen it against Villa. We've seen it against a couple of other oppositions as well that, this team is able to bounce back from it. But I think at that game, the way the heads dropped, the way certain players on the pitch performed as well after, not being able to get a goal in the first 35 minutes, I think that is something that we need to avoid. And I think overall, I just want to see a consistent 90-minute performance from this team. And I think if they are able to pull off a win against a team like Tottenham, it can do wonders for this team going, into the second half of the season.
100%. I think just the pure fact of having to beat them today, you look at the points difference. I don't know what exactly it is, but it's 8. Yeah, I was going to say about 8 points. They're in like 4th, 5th. We're in 8th, 9th. Lucky Newcastle didn't get that win yesterday, actually, because then they would have gone above us. Chelsea have just gone level on points with us
and gone ahead because they have a better goal difference.
So if you want to kind of revive any form of fucking career, season, you want to win a game like today, because so United have lost 9 of their 20 Premier League matches, equaling the total number of defeats they suffered in the entirety of last season. Now, if you was to put this down, I know there's so many fucking issues at United and you can't pin it down to one thing.
Yeah.
But what's the most leading cause of this, do you think? Is it the fact of just pure injuries, the reason why we've lost that many already?
I think definitely injuries have to play a big role in it, because you can say we haven't really played our best 11 after the game against Wolves pretty much, because Varane was out temporarily. Then Lisandro got out during the game against Arsenal. By the time Varane came back, Lisandro wasn't there. Then Wan-Bissaka got injured in between as well. Maguire had to come in. Dalot had to come in. Reguilon was brought as an emergency loan, and then Reguilon got injured as well. We had to play Amrabat at left back. Amrabat got injured. Højlund came in. Højlund got injured. Rashford was out for a bit. I don't know how, but Bruno was still around, hopefully, which was very, very good. Except that Mount came in twice and got injured. Casemiro came in twice and got injured. So you can say preferably players who we knew that can, break into the first team. And we were saying, that these players overall, maybe, they blend into the season, they reintegrate, because players like Mount were new signings, players like Højlund and Amrabat were new signings, but they never got that opportunity because injuries were really, really terrible. And it's only been the first half of the season and we've had like 30 to 32 injuries. And considering the kind of competitions that we were in, like Champions League, you've got both the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, where we know that Ten Hag doesn't take any competition lightly. So it has to, take a very, very big dramatic effect on the players and the overall quality of the team. And I think it was through November to practically now that Ten Hag only had 3 fit players to actually play in midfield. It was just Bruno, Menu, and McTominay. Eriksen was injured as well.
Yep.
Eriksen has just come back.
Lucky we had Menu really is performing at a good level, because if we
Exactly.
didn't, I don't know what we would have done.
And that's why I think even in the game against Forest, I can't really blame Ten Hag that much for, taking Menu off at halftime, because we all know we need to protect these young players. And we were seeing that, this Menu just came off a game against Villa, which was quite tiring considering the way they played that game as well. And and when you look at he knew that he has to bring someone off the bench to play in midfield, and when he looks at the bench, he's only got McTominay, so he has actually not got any other option but to play him. So now that at least players are coming back, I think like today we are seeing this as well. Ten Hag is reverting back to his old system and his old players, the players we are used to be seeing in the in the first 11, and players we know are good enough to be playing for us, because we know McTominay cannot do the job for us week in and week out, especially as a starting player in that midfield. So I think injuries are definitely a big role, and I think in one aspect you can say Ten Hag's stubbornness to stick with this proactive system. When you've got McTominay in the midfield, when you've not got your, play, when your spine pretty much in Lisandro Martinez, Varane, Shaw, Casemiro, they've been out. So I think a fraction of that definitely falls on the manager as well for sticking to this system that cannot work with the players that you've got at your disposal. But I think injuries just have really not, have not really helped him at all in this season.
Yeah. One player who's kind of fucking weathered that storm through the injuries and just plays every single game and runs miles and miles and miles is Bruno Fernandes. We had a bit of back and forth with like even Tottenham fans and some other people on the comments when we put out our combined 11, and we put, some of us put Maddison in over there. The reason why I did that is simply because I think this season, when I've watched James Maddison, he's given me what I want from a number 10. Those kind of cute passes, on the ball stuff, just conducting a game, and I don't think Bruno's done that. Do you think that's a case of the way the system has been, or do you think that's a case of his individual kind of qualities not rising to the surface?
I think it's because McTominay actually plays as a 10. Whenever we've been seeing, United play with McTominay in midfield, McTominay is the one who's playing behind the striker. Bruno is the one who has to actually, cover every blade of the grass, because he knows McTominay isn't going to be the one who tracks back. And
happened in the Galatasaray game, that didn't it?
It did. And there's only been 2 games where I've seen Bruno playing as a 10. One was against Villa, where we actually we actually saw Bruno making those through balls, which we know that he's got it in his locker, but we were finally seeing him do that. And the first half against Galatasaray as well, where Bruno just scored a banger out of nowhere. That was the only 2 instances where I saw Bruno play in the 10 throughout this season. So I think overall, right now, Maddison has been, I think, probably one of the best signings of the season so far, at least from the Spurs perspective. But I think overall, if I just have to evaluate them as 10s, I don't think there are a lot of players who would be coming close to Bruno, because I just think the kind of quality that he possesses and the kind of quality we've seen him actually, display on the pitch as well, given the right players behind him, because we have to take into account the fact that Madison has got players like Bissouma and Sarr behind him, absolute workhorses. Same, even when they're not present, they've got Højbjerg, who's I still think is a very underrated CDM as well in the Premier League. He does a good job for Spurs, so he's got a good setup behind him. Bruno's got no setup behind him pretty much for most part of the season. So I think now that these players are coming back, maybe we see a refined version of Bruno.
Well, the stat out there, Bruno Fernandes has created 54 chances in the top flight this season, more than any other player. But then there is also debates ongoing to, well, what kind of, what is a chance that's created? Is that just, a pass down the line? Is this like, you don't really know? So I do think sometimes when these stats come out with Bruno, it covers it up a little bit. It's like makeup almost, because I've watched him in games. Don't get me wrong, he's been fantastic in some games, but he plays better when he's just near the attackers, when he is the spearhead of that, that kind of diamond in midfield or whatever you want to call it. When he's running around, at left back and fucking here, there, everywhere, getting pulled apart.
That's not how you can get the best out of it.
I don't like that.
If you've got
like that at all.
I think that's the reason everyone has been saying play Eriksen or play either Casemiro or Meno as the pivots, because that Bruno won't have to do the dog work which he usually does on the pitch if those two are playing beside him. And we've seen that if Bruno Fernandes is in the right spot, especially on the transition, and he just needs to play a ball through, there's no one better than him in the Premier League to do that sort of job. And and that's why we capitalized against Villa as well, because Rashford and Garnacho was bombing forward and Bruno just knew where to find them every single time. So I think it's just a matter of getting the right players in midfield and finding a balance in that midfield as well, because I still think, considering the players who have been playing 10, in the number 10 position for United this season, you say McTominay or even Mount for a couple of games, I think Bruno has the best qualities in comparison to both of them.
Yeah, I think if you look at higher level, what they've won and things like that, I think Bruno obviously just tips in, but just this season specifically for me, I think Maddison's been better. If we focus on Spurs a little bit, because we're not really spoken about the team, so they've got in net Vicario, who's been fantastic, another signing of the season, who's been unbelievable for him. Pedro Porro, Romero as captain, Van de Ven, Adoge, completely new looking defence there, but Van de Ven and Romero together, very, very good. Højbjerg and Bentancur is a very tough midfield to break down. Then they've got Skip as well in that midfield, and then Johnson, Richarlison and Werner. What are the standouts there for you? When you look at this team, because obviously we didn't know what they was going to go with, what worries you in there?
I think the midfield I'm not that worried about, because Bentancur, he is a very decent midfielder, but he's just coming back from injury. He's been out for a considerable amount of time. I think midfield is something that we can still tackle. I think Meno and Eriksen, they are tailor-made to play against this sort of a midfield. But I think Van de Ven coming back is something that troubles me a lot, because he's very good. Like, genuinely, he's been a very, very, very good signing. He's very rapid. So,
do you think Højlund might struggle today?
I think not Højlund. I think Rashford might struggle because of him. Because Van de Ven is the sort
in the channels.
Yeah, he's someone who knows how to occupy that left flank area whenever they're out of position. He's very, very good when it comes to his positional awareness. So, as much as we know, Rashford is not the sort of winger who drifts wide. He's someone who cuts in. Garnacho is still someone who takes the ball wide. He likes to actually play tricks and then cut inside and then go for a cross or then go for a shot. But Rashford, if he makes 10 movements on the ball, 9 of them are, cutting inside into the box. So I think Van de Ven will be a tough one. I think he will be a tough one. But I think except that, I think we've got most of the areas covered. And perhaps maybe if we see Lisandro playing, an entire half of football, in the second half if he comes on, I don't think that Richarlison would be causing us much problem, because Richarlison has been working quite well, but he's got players like Son delivering to him. He's got, those sort of profiles delivering to him. So I think Son going out is a big advantage of, for us, because him and Maddison are two players that make them click in the attack. Like, they just know where to, apply themselves when they're moving forward. So both of them out, they are big advantages. Bissouma out is also a big advantage because I think he's been fantastic for them this season as well. So I think overall, I think we have a good shot against Spurs.
Just for clarification on the Luke Shaw thing, because some people, Muppeteers tweeted that he's going to start. So yeah, Ten Hag is just a quote coming out saying, we were expecting Luke Shaw today, but he had to pull out at the last minute. So I'm not sure what's happened if he's pulled up another injury. Jesus Christ. It would not surprise you with the way the season's gone. So yeah, he was supposed to start.
I'm just thankful it's not Lisandro Casemiro though.
Yeah. I'm excited to see them. Really. I don't know how long they're going to get. I don't know, what's going to go on there. But I think the game overall, I think is going to be exciting. I think there'll be quite a few goals because if you look at how Tottenham is set up this season, they are stubborn with that high line. They will just keep going and going and going. And they do have kind of quick attacking dynamic. So do you think this could maybe be a game of transitions? Rashford and Garnacho on our side, Richarlison, Werner and Brennan Johnson on the other as well, pacing behind?
I think maybe. I think pretty much when I see that Spurs setup as well, what they have actually got to offer in the attack is pace. Especially, when you've got the likes of Brennan Johnson, Werner. Same goes for us. We've got pace to offer in the attack. We've not got some playmakers in the attack. We've got Garnacho and Rashford, but what they can pose as a threat, I think both the teams, is pace on the wings. And I think it is quite an even match. If you have to compare how the front three of both the teams play, they're pretty similar the way they play. And I think an advantage for us in that aspect is that Werner isn't really an out and out goal scorer type of a winger or a striker even. And he hasn't really been playing that many games for Leipzig, and this is his first game in quite some time. So I think that's a big advantage. I didn't know that Romero is starting, so he's someone to watch out for as well because
definitely red card. Fucking Romero.
Yeah. If he gets a red card, then it's all good. But I think once again, I don't remember the game. I think it was against Bayern where Højlund struggled against Kim Min-jae and Upamecano. Yeah. So Van de Ven, I think he can still handle.
I think before against Van Dijk and Kanate, he struggled.
Yeah. So I think Van de Ven he can still handle, but Romero is a different person altogether. So if he gets sent off, then it's all good.
Yeah, I think he might be isolated a little bit in this game. Højlund, hopefully not. Hopefully Bruno. If we can get Casemiro on the second half, take Eriksen off because we know he drifts on it 60th, 70th. Bring Casemiro on, have Menu, Casemiro, Bruno. I'd love to see that and see how that works. I think if
we go into this first half with the lead, then it will be the perfect setup for us in the second half because then you can easily bring on players like Casemiro and Menu. It's going to be a tough block to actually break down, even for Spurs when they've not got players like Maddison and Son around.
Yeah, for sure. Right, there's bits of news, topical news going about. So Jim Ratcliffe is at Old Trafford. He's been in the media room. He's been speaking to a couple of journalists. He's been asked when he's expected the deal to be ratified. He said early to mid-February. Hopefully they don't find anything dodgy on the CV. Obviously a bit tongue-in-cheek there from the new partial owner. He also said they've been asked about how many times he'll attend Manchester United games. He says, I can't come all the time because I have other things, but I will come. But that's more than, he's probably turned up as much as the Glazers and they've been here for 18 years. So he has been addressing in media, which I think is interesting. A lot of journalists asking him questions and stuff. He said, Man United's stake is the most exciting thing I've done. The deal will not be completed before early mid-February. I've also met with Erik Ten Hag and he got asked about January signings and he said no comment. Just on the January window, quickly, Shreyas, loans, do you think? That's it, last minute loan?
I don't even see a loan coming, to be very honest with you, for the first time. Because the player we were being actually linked to has gone to Spurs now. And I don't see, anyone we're being linked to right now. And considering the amount of players that we still got coming back from injury, we still got Mount coming. Shaw is not here, so Shaw will be coming back. Malacia will be coming back. So you've got a decent chunk of players still coming back. I don't know why Ahmad is not on the bench again, but he's another winger who's going to be coming back as well. So
fuck knows.
I just hope that he's back, in time as well. But I think overall, we still got a decent chunk of players coming back. I think the one area where we can still actually do some business is the striker position. And there has been a name floating about which you put out in existence. If he does come in, then I think it will be a good signing for us.
Yeah, so we currently have a French striker, of course, but who's struggled with fitness and injuries and these kind of stuff. There is another French striker who has had a bit of a falling out in Saudi Arabia. He was a clutch player not too long ago for Real Madrid in the Champions League. He's won many trophies. We've already got Casemiro, Varane.
Yeah.
Now Benzema as well, of course. Ronaldo only left recently, so he's effectively getting the spine of the Madrid team from 2017, isn't it?
Yeah.
Happy days.
And
yeah,
I think Benzema has still got the quality to play at the top level. I think he's still got
I
it.
agree.
I think he's still got it.
For sure.
And I don't mind actually bringing someone like Benzema in, because we don't need someone who's, going to be here and, competing with Højlund for the next 7 to 8 years. It's not that sort of a scenario. We need someone who Højlund can learn off from. And now that we have not got Ronaldo, I think the best case scenario after Ronaldo is Benzema. And I think if Højlund is able to learn even 50% of him, what he's done in his career,
just take the fucking pressure off him. That's all we want. He's still trying to learn his trade. You bring Benzema in, 36 years old, won everything in the game pretty much. Like, how's that bad? The only bad side I see to it is potentially his wages, because obviously he's on 170 million a year. I think at Saudi Arabia. I don't even know what that equates to. Oh god, no. Ineos will look at that and they'll be like, "Are you fucking joking, mate? We're trying to get rid of people like this." So I'm not saying it'll happen. I'll just take everything else out of it away. Yeah. If I could bring Benzema in now for 6 months, it's not even.
Of course. Yeah. I think he helps out a lot of other players in the attack as well, especially players like young players like Garnacho, players like Ahmad coming in, because he knows how to make wingers around him tick. He knows play off me.
There's a guy on Twitter saying about the wingers, saying that they won't supply him and they won't do this and they won't do that. Benzema's the type of guy though who can drop and get on the ball and then start playing as well.
I think
in my opinion, from what I've seen.
If you look at Benzema throughout his career, he's been the perfect definition of a hybrid striker, because throughout his career he's worked with arguably you can say superstar wingers throughout, goal scoring wingers on top of that. He's had to accommodate players like Bale, players like Di Maria, players like Cristiano Ronaldo as well. In the later stages of his career, he had to bring in, you had likes of Asensio coming in, Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo. So he's always been surrounded by goal-scoring wingers. And those wingers have still been able to end seasons with like 20, 25 assists. So he knows how to work, with, explosive winger situations. If you bring someone like Benzema in, he knows how to work with those sort of wingers.
Yeah. Right. This is a tailor to tape then, and we're going to do score predictions. Everton and Villa just finished 0-0, by the way.
Yay.
So points dropped on both sides there, which is probably good for us considering the league position we're in.
Yeah, even if Everton won, they would be 2 points behind us.
That's what I'm saying. So and they've had a 10-point deduction. It's fucking crazy. Yeah, so we've got two teams pretty injury struck, couple of players missing for each one, it's fair to say. Massive game for if we want any hopes of getting just Europe alone, like Europa League, whatever you want to call it. We go like 11 points behind Spurs if we lose this. So obviously it's a do not lose game, but also you don't want to draw it either because the point doesn't really do much for us in this situation. And they beat us in the first game we played them, so we need to win this. After everything we've spoken about, give me your score prediction for today, please.
2-0.
United 2-0.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, even after seeing that team, you confident? 2-0,
yeah?
Who scores for you?
Garnacho scores and Bruno gets on the score sheet. Or even, not Bruno, Casemiro gets on the score sheet in the second half.
I like it. It wouldn't surprise me because Casemiro assist and goals was like up there. He's
very good on set pieces as well. Just bring the ball, drop the ball to him, he hits it in.
Yeah. Smash like on the video if you think Manchester United are going to win this game or at least give you a good performance. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. I'm going to go with a 3-2. I think it's going to be a bit of a barn burner like the Newcastle game yesterday. I think Rashford's going to score a hat-trick.
Rashford hat-trick?
Yeah. I'm going to go bold. I'm thinking about the high line. I'm thinking about... I don't know.
Rashford or Garnacho hat-trick?
Yeah, let's go with that. I think that's a bit more of a safer kind of bet. I think one of them will score at least a couple. But then it might be 3-3, it might be 3-2, not sure. Dino Lewis saying going to be 3-1. Rasmus will score 2. Chivy saying didn't realise Bentancur was back. Jeffrey saying I'm here to watch United lose. Am I welcome? I mean, anyone's welcome, but we're not here to watch United lose. So yeah take that for what you will. 2-1 Garnacho brace. Think Spurs will miss Son. I think I've already read that comment out as well. So yeah, we'll leave it at that, guys. Make sure you smash like in the video. Enjoy the game, and we'll see you for the post-match analysis. Hopefully we've won, and hopefully we're all happy sitting discussing what an amazing performance it was after Marcus Rashford's hat-trick and Bruno scored 9 goals as well. So take care. Enjoy the game as well, Shreyas. I'm sure we'll be speaking in the chat, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.